Well, this case is a lot of fun because we have my dad's actual painting equipment here. We have one of his palettes with one of his old scrunchy sponges, and you can see how it's just totally been used. I mean, it's just splattered with layers and layers and layers of different colors of paint. My dad painted probably more than just about anybody except Pablo Picasso. I actually looked up Picasso's output, and it was about the same lifetime output as my dad. So my dad painted almost every day of his life from the time that he started painting kind of seriously in the 1940s. So next to that we have some brushes that he used. He used a lot of brushes, and he would get old brushes from friends, and they would be he'd have some really beat up old brush, and he'd say that he wouldn't take $1,000 for that brush. You know, he was really attached to some really gnarly old brushes, and so you get a sense of that when you look at these brushes. Then you have one of his hats. He had a number of those hats to protect himself from the sun because he spent so much more time outdoors than the average person does. That one is kind of beat up, but that's typical of my dad. He would wear old painting clothes and old things that were really beat up, and he more than once was stopped by police who thought he was a vagrant. Even in his own Fig Garden neighborhood, he was stopped by the police one time, and they were sure that he was some derelict, and he had to convince them that he was Roland Pickford, and he lived right there in the neighborhood. And there's a picture of my dad working with his, that picture was probably taken around the 1980s or so. So it gives you a good idea. He's painting some pines at the coast. And you see how he's got the easel to one side on top of a box to get it up to the level he needs it. A little folding chair. You know, he would spend a lot of time finding just the right little folding chair. And then he's got some rags at the other side, and then he's got a little easel holding up his cardboard and his watercolor paper. Up at the top, we have just two of many, many clippings and newspaper spreads on my dad. This one is actually his obituary. He died September 26, 2010. And this was written by Donald Monroe. It's a very nice piece called Lighting the Way. And then the one over there is from the Alta Vista, which is was an entertainment section in the Monterey Herald. And it was a whole section devoted to him.